Your Nissan transmission could be quietly wearing itself out every single day. And the frightening part is that most owners are the ones causing it without ever realizing. Some of it comes down to settings the car switches on by default, and some of it comes down to habits nobody ever warned you about. So today I am counting down 10 settings and habits that are quietly destroying Nissan transmissions, and number 1 is the single most expensive mistake an owner can make. Let us get into it. Number 10. The first one is a button most owners press without a second thought, because leaving eco mode switched on all the time is far harder on your transmission than anyone tells you. On a flat motorway at a steady cruise, it does exactly what it promises, keeping the engine relaxed and the fuel consumption down, and in that situation there's nothing wrong with it at all. The problem appears the moment you take it into town or up a hill, because eco mode deliberately asks the drivetrain to keep the engine revs as low as possible, and it becomes reluctant to give you the extra effort you are asking for. So instead of the car dropping into a lower ratio and pulling cleanly, it lugs along at low revs while the transmission takes the strain, and that means slipping, friction, and heat, which is exactly what a continuously variable transmission hates most. In stop-start traffic and on inclines, that gentle-sounding setting is quietly generating exactly the conditions that shorten a gearbox's life. The fix costs nothing at all because you simply switch eco mode off in town, in hills, and whenever you are working the car, and save it for the long, flat, easy cruising it was actually designed for. It is the single easiest change on this list, and it costs you nothing but a moment's thought as you set off. What makes it so insidious is that the car feels perfectly fine while it is happening, because there is no noise and no warning light, just a gearbox quietly working harder than it should for years on end. That silence is exactly why so many owners leave the button pressed permanently, assuming the car would tell them if anything were wrong when the damage is entirely invisible until the day it is not. But the button next to it is doing damage in the exact opposite direction. Number 9. The second one is the mirror image of the first, because living permanently in sport mode punishes your transmission just as hard, only from the other end. Sport mode sharpens everything up, holding the revs higher, responding instantly to your right foot, and generally making the car feel far more alive than it has any right to. That is genuinely enjoyable on a good road, and it is exactly what the setting was built for, so there is nothing wrong with using it when the moment calls for it. What does the damage is treating it as your default? Because leaving it on for the daily commute means the transmission is constantly working harder and running hotter than it needs to, for a benefit you are not even using while crawling to work. Every extra ratio change, every burst of higher pressure, and every degree of extra heat is where you are paying for with no reward whatsoever, and heat in particular is the enemy here. Think of these modes as tools rather than personalities, so you reach for sport when you genuinely want it, and you return to the normal setting for the ordinary business of getting to work and back. Your gearbox will thank you for it every single day. It is worth being clear that sport mode is not damaging in itself because Nissan engineered it deliberately and there is nothing wrong with enjoying it. And anyone who tells you a factory setting will destroy your car is overstating things. The point is simply that it asks more of the transmission, and asking more of it constantly for no reason on a boring commute is where you are buying without getting anything at all in return. Use the right tool for the right job and the car stays healthier for far longer. Up next, a system the car switches on for you. Number 8. The third one is a setting your Nissan often has switched on by default, and it is the automatic engine stop-start system that kills the engine every time you come to a halt. On paper, it is a sensible idea, because a switched-off engine burns no fuel while you sit at a red light, and in dense city traffic, the savings are real enough to matter. The trouble is what all that stopping and starting does to everything downstream, because each restart is a small event that the starter, the battery, and the whole drivetrain have to absorb. And in heavy traffic, you may be doing it dozens of times on a single journey. There is a knock-on effect for the transmission too, because when the engine stops, the pump that maintains pressure inside the gearbox stops with it, and the system has to work to bring everything back up to readiness the moment you lift off the brake. Repeated over years of commuting, that is not nothing. The good news is that this is a comfort setting rather than a safety one, so if your car has a button to switch it off, you are perfectly entitled to use it, and many owners simply press it at the start of every journey. Use it when it suits you, and switch it off when the traffic is relentless. What I would not do is fit one of the aftermarket devices sold to disable the system permanently, because these interfere with the car's electronics in ways that cause their own problems and can complicate any future warranty claim. Pressing a button the manufacturer put there is a very different thing from bypassing the system with a module it never intended. Keep it simple and use the controls you have been given. What comes next is a habit almost every driver is guilty of. Number 7. The fourth one costs you nothing to avoid, and yet almost everybody does it, because shifting between drive and reverse before the car has fully stopped is one of the most violent things you can do to a transmission. Picture the scene, because we have all lived it. When you are edging into a tight parking space, you overshoot slightly, and while the car is still creeping backwards, you flick the selector into drive to correct yourself. It feels like nothing at all from behind the wheel, and that is exactly the problem. Underneath you, the whole drivetrain is still turning one way while you have just commanded it to turn the other, and the job of stopping that motion falls not on the brakes where it belongs, but on the internal components of the transmission and everything attached to them. That shock travels through the drive shafts, the mounts, and the gearbox itself, and it is a load that none of them were designed to absorb. The fix takes one single second of patience, because you simply come to a genuine, complete stop with your foot firmly on the brake. Pause for a moment, and only then move the selector. The brakes stop the car, the transmission changes direction, and each part does only the job it was built for. Once you start noticing yourself doing it, you will realize how often you have been rushing that moment and how little time the correct habit actually costs, because we are talking about a single heartbeat of patience each time you maneuver. It also makes you a smoother, more considered driver in tight spaces, which is no bad thing in itself. Do it properly every single time, and one of the most common causes of expensive damage simply disappears from your life. What comes next is an old myth that will not die. Number 6, the fifth one is a piece of advice handed down from a completely different era of motoring, because coasting downhill in neutral is neither clever nor economical in a modern Nissan. The theory sounds appealing enough, since if you disconnect the engine from the wheels and let gravity do the work, surely you must be saving fuel, and generations of drivers have sworn by it. On a modern fuel-injected engine, it is simply false, because when you are coasting in gear with your foot completely off the accelerator, the engine management can cut the fuel supply almost entirely and let the wheels turn the engine, so you are using barely any fuel at all. Drop it into neutral, and the engine now has to idle under its own power to avoid stalling, which means the fuel comes straight back on, so you burn more, not less. Worse still, when you reach the bottom of the hill and slot it back into drive while the car is moving quickly, you are asking the transmission to grab hold of a spinning driveline and match everything up in an instant, and that engagement shock is entirely unnecessary wear. You also lose the engine braking that helps control your speed, which puts the whole load on your brakes and can leave them hot and fading at precisely the moment you most need them, which turns a fuel-saving myth into a genuine safety problem on a long descent. There is simply nothing to gain and a great deal to lose, and in some places coasting in neutral is not even legal for that very reason. Leave it in drive on descents and let the car do exactly what it was engineered to do, because it manages the whole situation better than any old habit ever could. Now, before we get into the top 5, a quick favor. If you enjoy this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Number 5. The sixth one is the habit of ignoring the transmission when it first starts trying to tell you something, and with a Nissan, that is a genuinely expensive form of optimism. These transmissions rarely fail without warning, because long before anything dramatic happens, they usually start giving you small, quiet signals that something is not right. A slight shudder as you pull away gently, a faint whining that rises with the revs, a moment of hesitation before the car takes up the drive, or a general feeling that the response is not as crisp as it once was, are all the early language of a transmission in trouble. The temptation is enormous to tell yourself it is nothing, because the car still drives, and it is astonishing how quickly the human brain normalizes a small new noise. By the time those symptoms become undeniable, the damage inside has usually progressed a very long way, and what could have been a fluid service and an early diagnosis has become something far more serious. Treat every one of those signs as a genuine message from the car and get it properly investigated straight away, because catching it early is the difference between a manageable bill and a catastrophic one. Listen to it and act. It also helps enormously to know what your own car normally feels like, because once you have a clear sense of its baseline, anything new stands out immediately rather than creeping up on you so gradually that you never quite notice. Owners who catch these things early are the ones who pay attention rather than simply turning the radio up. A transmission that is beginning to struggle is asking for help, and giving it that help early is by far the cheapest thing you will ever do for it. Up next, the load you are putting on it without realizing. Number 4. The seventh one is asking your Nissan to work far harder than the setting on the dashboard suggests, because towing, heavy loads, and roof racks change everything about how the transmission is being treated. A trailer, a boot full of gear, a roof box, or a bike rack all mean the drivetrain is working significantly harder to move a heavier, less aerodynamic vehicle, and that extra effort turns straight into heat inside the transmission. The mistake owners make is assuming that as long as they are within the towing limit, everything is fine. When in reality, what matters just as much is that this kind of use is exactly what the manufacturer calls severe service, and it demands a different maintenance regime entirely. Most people never open that section of the handbook, so they carry on with the ordinary service schedule while treating the car in a way it explicitly warns you about. If you tow, if you load the car heavily, or if you run a roof box on long journeys, you should be servicing the transmission considerably more often than the standard schedule suggests, and you should be respecting the limits rather than testing them. Know what your car is rated for and be honest about how you use it, because the car does not care what the schedule in the handbook says. It only responds to how it is actually treated. It is also worth remembering that heat is cumulative, so it is not the single big tow that finishes a transmission. It is the hundreds of ordinary journeys spent working harder than the maintenance schedule assumes. Match the servicing to the real use, and you can tow and load the car for years without drama. But pretend the extra work is not happening and it will eventually catch up with you. What comes next is what actually goes inside your transmission. Number 3. The 8th one is a mistake made at the counter rather than behind the wheel, because putting the wrong fluid into a Nissan transmission is one of the fastest ways to ruin it. If your car has a continuously variable transmission, it needs a very specific fluid designed for it, and Nissan specifies exactly what that is for each generation of gearbox, with the well-known NS2 and NS3 specifications being the ones most owners will come across. This is not marketing, and it is not badge snobbery, because these transmissions rely on a precise relationship between the fluid and the metal surfaces inside them, and the fluid is doing far more than simply lubricating. Pour in a so-called universal fluid that claims to suit everything, and you can change the way the transmission grips, generates pressure, and manages heat, which is precisely the recipe for slipping and premature failure. The saving is trivial and the risk is enormous, so this is genuinely one of the worst places in the entire car to economize. Insist on the correct specified fluid for your exact model and transmission, and if a shop cannot tell you precisely which one they intend to use, find another shop. Get this wrong, and everything else on this list becomes irrelevant, because no amount of careful driving will save a transmission that is running on the wrong fluid. It is worth keeping a note of exactly which specification your car takes, so that there is never any confusion at the counter and no temptation to accept whatever happens to be on the shelf, and so that you can ask the question with confidence. Nissan did not specify these fluids to be difficult. They specified them because these gearboxes genuinely depend on them, and that is a distinction worth respecting every single time. And that leaves the 2 biggest killers of them all. Number 2. The 9th one is the single most underrated threat to your Nissan, because heat is what actually kills these transmissions, and almost nobody manages it deliberately. Every one of the settings and habits we have talked about so far ultimately does its damage the same way, by generating heat inside the transmission, and heat is what breaks the fluid down and turns a healthy gearbox into a failing one. The problem is that you have very little visibility of it, because most cars give you no transmission temperature gauge at all, so the whole thing happens silently while you drive along completely unaware. What raises it is exactly what you would expect: crawling in heavy traffic on a hot day, towing, climbing long hills fully loaded, and working the car hard when it is already warm. What protects it is keeping the cooling system in genuinely good order, because a clogged radiator or a tired cooling system affects the transmission as well as the engine, and on cars that regularly tow or work hard, an additional transmission cooler is one of the most worthwhile things you can fit. Keep it cool and you keep it alive, and everything else becomes far more forgiving. It is also worth thinking about how you drive on the hottest days, because sitting in crawling traffic in high summer with the car fully loaded is genuinely one of the hardest things you can ask of a transmission, and a little awareness goes a long way. If you regularly do that kind of work, treating the car to a more frequent fluid service and giving serious thought to the cooling is not paranoia. It is simply matching the maintenance to the reality of what you are asking the car to do. What comes next is the one that ends more Nissans than anything else. Number 1. The most damaging mistake of all, by an enormous margin, is believing that your transmission fluid is filled for life and never changing it. This is the single idea that has ended more Nissan transmissions than every other item on this list put together, and it is the one thing I wish every owner understood from the day they collected the car. The phrase sounds reassuring, and if the paperwork tells you the fluid never needs changing, then it feels almost irresponsible to question it, which is exactly why so many people never do. But that word lifetime does not mean the lifetime of your car, and in the real world, where the fluid endures heat, load, traffic, and years of use, it breaks down, it loses its properties, and it becomes contaminated with the fine debris that normal wear produces. Once that happens, the fluid stops protecting the very components it exists to protect, and the slipping, the shuddering, and the eventual failure follow as night follows day. Changing it on a sensible schedule, with the correct specified fluid and nothing else, costs a modest amount and utterly transforms how long the transmission lasts, which makes it the best value maintenance you will ever buy. Ignoring it and trusting a word that was never meant to be a promise is how a perfectly healthy Nissan ends up needing a repair that costs more than the car is worth. Change the fluid, keep the receipts, and everything else on this list becomes survivable. Nobody is going to push this service on you because a fluid change that the paperwork calls unnecessary is a service nobody has any reason to sell you right up until the day the transmission gives up and the bill lands on the table. The owners whose Nissans quietly sail past enormous mileages are almost never lucky. They are simply the ones who refuse to believe that word. The lifetime fluid myth takes number 1, and it earned every single inch of that spot.